Hello, here we are in Maine at Camp Forest. I'm going to talk about having a safe fire. A fire is a wonderful thing to have at your campsite. It's like a friend, and you can use it as for cooking your food, for roasting, for everything, right? It's very important, and it can keep you warm. So, but we want to talk about safe fires because we don't want to burn the forest down when we have a fire, right? So, we're here in Maine, and first of all, we have to make a safe fire pit, right? Or if you find an established fire pit, some places you're not allowed to have fires unless it's an established fire pit, right? But if you were in the woods and you need to make your own fire pit, then you'd have to make your own fire pit, right? So I'm going to tell you a little bit about that. So this is a fire pit here that we've made ourselves. In order to make a safe fire pit, first of all, you have to rake all the leaves away because leaves are flammable, right? All the leaves away. And then you also have to check above and below. So I check above. Is there any like fir trees that could light on fire, right? Nothing right near me, right? And then I check below and I stick a stick in, right? Are there any like dead roots that go underneath there or anything like that? And I tell you something about fires. One of the things that starts fires a lot is the fir tree. And the fir tree is wonderful. We're going to use it in a minute for lighting our fires, but it's also a hazard because they'll die dead standing. They'll get ants inside of them, and they'll be right full of ants. And the fire, the root could actually go into there, and it would follow the root, and then start a whole nest of ants inside the middle of the fir tree. And the sap is flammable, and all throughout North America, there's a lot of fir trees with flammable sap, and if the trees all die at once, then you all have these dead snags, right? So you want to be careful of that. In this spot, I've cut off the dead fir trees, right? So I'm making more of a safe place for a fire. But I'm also going to use the fir to light our fire. It's also called an Alaskan match, right? So I'm going to go over here. See this fir tree? I'm going to pick these little twigs. Some people call these an Alaskan match. And you see they die, and then they're in the air, just drying in the air. So they're really flammable, which is good for lighting your fires, but also potentially dangerous for forest fires, right? Now, when I'm going through the woods, another thing I always collect when I'm going by is tinder. So I collected this tinder, birch bark. Birch bark is the secret to your fire, right? I personally don't like to use paper in my fire. So I'm going to take any paper out, and I'm going to set up my birch bark here. Birch bark is flammable. You want to cut it up into smaller pieces. And then we have all of our fir, right? Our Alaskan match, which we're going to use for lighting the fire. Okay? Now, when people say you want to make a teepee fire, right? If it were to be a teepee fire, it would be a collapsed teepee. Because, you know, a teepee doesn't burn down. Why? Because your fire's here, and the teepee poles are way up there. There's a huge air space between the two. You don't want a lot of air space. So if it's going to be a teepee, it will be a collapsed teepee. If it was going to be a log cabin, it will be a collapsed log cabin, right? So I'm going to make, you could call it a collapsed teepee, but it's, you want the air space, right? And you can break these up even smaller. The smaller you break these up, the more sticks that you get. But it's real open up pretty nice. And see that, hear that snap? It's called the snap test, right? Go like that, you hear it go snap like that. If you take a stick and you hear it go thud, right? Then it's not good for lighting your fire. Like this, listen. More of like a thud, right? That one's not good for lighting your fire. So I'm gonna make like a collapsed teepee, right? Because we don't want a whole lot of airspace in there, because we want the fire to spread from one spot, from one stick to the next stick. And we always start with tiny twigs and then we go to the bigger ones, right? You don't want to feed a baby, you want to feed a baby like small food, right? And so this is going to be our baby fire. So here we have our little entrance. Webster's gonna get some more wood over there.